I was the big guy, but I was a short big guy in our league.
Oh.
It just didn't work.
Sure.
So yeah, and then make it count.
Guys,
How's it going?
How are you? Okay. How's the roads? Oh, meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
All right, Scott Duffner.
Here.
Mark Harris.
Here.
Dwight Roth.
Here.
Preston Fivecoat.
Here.
Dan Jansen is absent.
Approval of the agenda.
everything on the agenda is correct. Lane is going to talk about one item that is not listed here, but when it's his turn, he can just do that. The only other thing, I think you have an updated version, is that we're just going to review the budget calendar. There will be no action taken on that. And, but I believe you will get correct. Other than that, we're good.
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
See anything that was out of order or anything else?
We approve the minutes from the December 9th regular meeting and work session.
I'll second it.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the December 9th regular and work session. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Review the bills.
Is the app TG the new?
Yes.
new app?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's the Santander leasing?
Bus.
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 Do we have Mr. Cahill tonight?
No, religion.
No.
I guess not.
All right, I guess we're gonna skip Mr. Cahill. So we'll go on to new business. Or any other individuals to speak up. I think everybody's got a spot to speak up, so. All right, thanks guys for being here, but we'll go to Mr. Stratton.
Was it last March? Yeah, our board meetings in Paisley's in March. Can't remember.
Seems like February,
March.
Mhm.
And we have the budget committee there, and we got a new handout from OSBA, Oregon School Boards Association, that talks about the makeup of budget committees and the rules, laws, what you can and can't do. And it was read, and one of the budget committee members brought up a few things to my attention, and so one of them deals with your guys' membership. Currently, Scott and Gil are the Paisley members on the budget committee for the ESD. And looking through the membership, it says that to be a budget committee member, you must be a registered voter in the district in which you serve. Ms. Bierman is not a registered voter in Lake County. And that's something that I think we're trying to figure out, may have been allowed to be done for a while, because we're pretty sure Mr. Kerr was a budget committee member back in the day, and he was not a registered voter in Lake County. So at your next board meeting, I'd ask that you all as a board appoint someone to fill Ms. Bierman's spot. It can be a board member or anyone you appoint, as long as they are a registered voter within the county. Gail and I talked about it, probably because there was a board member, because you guys have the best knowledge of what the ESD does or doesn't do. But at the same time, I told Ms. Bierman that I want her to come to our January and March meetings, to be there and be part of it and all that. It's just, we'll have to go a different route on that. And so the board will appoint someone, get your nomination to the ESD board, and the ESD board will approve it. So if you guys can do that, it won't give you a January vote. The January vote is to approve, I think, two things. I mean, it's the cost of living. It's not cost of living. What is it called? It's a little tax rate. So
The TIF rate.
TIF rate,
Yeah.
the TIF rate, and the local service plan, the initial draft of it. When we approve the budget in March. So if you guys give me a date in February, then my board can approve it at the start of the March meeting. And you can have the two votes. Any questions on that?
If the board didn't want to have another board member, could Cameron do it?
Hit make it a point.
Anyone who wanted? Okay, so it could be another administrator.
That was one of the questions, is why is there a superintendent or administrators on it? I said, because the boards can appoint whoever they want. So there's a combination. Paisley has two board members. Lakeview has a superintendent and a board member. In the past, North Lake always had a superintendent and a board member. So you can do whatever you want. So we have 8 non-ESD board members, and the ESD board members are budget.
Thank you.
The Equity Committee,
Oh,
Mr. Lewis.
okay. Yeah, and just a little brief one on the needs assessment. Needs assessment process is moving ahead also for your integrated guidance funding stuff. It's an application year for the new biennium. So we're just following up on our OD requirements to receive those grant dollars. So we had a meeting before this board meeting with the needs assessment team about putting together and helping formulate our outcome strategies and put that into the budget. So just a quick update about where that process is for the application that's due in April. In addition to that part of it, the ESD has once again, I presented to you guys at some point in time about an equity committee being pushed out to all the different districts as a state requirement. They have allowed, as part of it, to come as a consortium and put together a committee for a consortium for rural remote districts. So that way it's not an overburden on boards to come up with another 5 people beyond their school boards to be on a district or to be on an equity committee. So as part of that, I'm asking if North Lake, I provide you with the proposal for you guys to review and back in November, I believe, November, I believe, to review. So now I'm asking for the board to take action on whether or not they would approve to be a part of the Lake County Equity Committee Consortium. So, and then I will take that data back to OD and say, these are the districts that have come on board with it, that are okay with the draft proposal, and then kind of get OD's final approval, hopefully. Because that begins September. We have to have it in place September 2025.
If you choose not to join the Lake County consortium, then you guys would have to make your own equity committee.
Gail and Scott would be in charge of creating and managing an equity committee. Whereas the ESD will take that burden if they so choose. If they so choose, the ESD will take on that burden.
Yeah.
I think what he says that I would be in charge of, he said, delegate.
We better go with the concern.
Okay. I tend to lean that way myself. So, it looks like it's an action item, so we need a motion on that, Joe.
Yeah, I move that we join the equity. Consortium.
I'll second it. Okay, been moved and seconded that we're gonna join the, shall we call it the Lake County
County
ESD Equity
Lake
Consortium?
County
Consortium.
Equity Committee.
Okay, there it
Okay,
is.
the county.
Any other questions or discussion, guys? Those in favor? Motion carries. Thank
Oh,
you.
who was the second?
Mark,
Thank you, Mr. Lou,
thank you.
and Lane as well.
Yeah.
Budget calendar.
And that was just review, yes, and so that's all for you guys, right? We didn't forget anything?
I'm
Okay,
pretty sure.
all right, okay, thanks you guys for coming up and for your help.
Yeah.
Yes, but,
We're gonna be rude and
all right,
Yeah,
thanks.
I would do the same.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you guys,
thank you, guys.
appreciate it.
They've been here most of the afternoon, so we had other stuff to do. Thank you guys very much.
Budget calendar went through.
I think it's linked, isn't it, linked there, Janet?
Oh, shoot. I didn't link it, but I did include it in the packet, so let me see if I can link it real quick. Yeah, there it is, hold on. So I'll put it on.
I kept it just like last year, same days. obviously.
Scottish usually.
Yeah. But no, when I went
Decided
in,
Resources.
when I went in and read it, it said that in February we would adopt it. So I was like, oops, I jumped the gun on it. You guys can just review it tonight and adopt it next month.
I don't know if it's on the agenda or not, but we found it because.
Oh. Mhm.
Work for me. Stacy.
So I'll get her the little paperwork thing to fill out.
I'd say it's good. Only question I have is the June 9th regular school board meeting. Sometimes you guys push that off, sometimes you don't, because of the end of school. Does that
Check.
seem like that worked this year?
It's always nice to not have it quite so crowded.
So either way, we just have to remember on that end and not change it. So whatever we
Yeah,
publish.
June 9th.
Generally, as far as the budget committee goes, it seems like we're in pretty good shape way before that.
Yeah.
Within the first.
I think it'll be fine on June 9th. It is the last week, but
Calendar, Janet, look, last- It's the beginning of that last week of school.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a late.
Yeah, to get our dues in.
I don't see a problem with it. You guys are the ones going through the week. so.
I'm okay with that date. Are you, Janet, that beginning of last week's school?
Yeah,
It almost might be harder to do it earlier because we have graduation. and all that.
and it's probably harder to do it later too.
Yeah, I don't want to do it earlier. So, let's just leave it then. I'm okay with that.
But yeah, that seems pretty next.
All right. We'll just keep it as it is then.
Yep.
All right.
Looks like we're on to superintendent's report.
Okay. Page here. Okay. So, first thing is A1, the enrollment and registration report. You can see that we are right about 224.4, so we're keeping, if you keep 225 as an average in mind, we're just right there for our year average. 221 kids in January, so running a little bit low if you're just looking at the month, but overall, we're doing all right as far as enrollment, keeping us steady. The monthly financial report from Monica, you will see an adjustment has been made. The difference in the cash carryover has decreased significantly this month. It's no longer 233,000, it's 115. Monica can explain that, but she has started putting in more actual numbers, correct, Monica?
Yeah.
And you
So
can
it-
explain that to
It
them.
hasn't gone down, it's gone up, as you can see, because we said we were gonna lose $223,000.
Yeah.
So Sarah informed me, hey Monica, in June, I tripled the payroll, because we threw payrolls in June. She's like, yeah, but you don't need to keep the us that are on a 12-month salary out of that. I was like, oh yeah, and I do need to do that, so I subtracted all those out and it's down and down, so I think it's gonna be enough.
I'm trying to give yourself a nice little bonus.
No, I took the lead.
You got caught.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, that's probably a little more realistic figure
I
than,
think so, yeah.
than what it has been, so just wanted to point that out.
And so, is there any
Yeah.
indication or thoughts of what the May adjustment may look like this year?
I haven't seen anything on that.
I haven't heard anything either. Of the adjustment.
Are we looking at 80 or 90% on the transportation reimbursement, or do we know as of yet?
We don't know.
I don't know
But
either.
I'm guessing I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it, and because even last year, Sarah and I worked really, really hard to get that to 90, and we finished off the year at 89%, so that we were still 80. And she figured in the depreciation of bunch of stuff on the bus barn that we hadn't done yet, and other things that we were able to do. We still didn't make it, so we talked this year and decided, let's just go with 80. If we make 90, we'll try, but that's just gonna be a bonus if we do, because that's a really high threshold to meet. We're always kind of close, but we never seem to do it,
And at
very rarely.
the meetings that I've had, the other schools, bigger schools are pushing harder with their percentages up. And so that's gonna take away from other schools, so.
That's
That's
just,
another.
yeah. And we never know how that's gonna turn out. So anyway, so we're planning on 80, but we're hoping for 90. That's how that's going. Okay, the next thing, the GH.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We
go ahead.
talked last time about getting kind of a benchmark for where we're at on.
Yeah,
are
it's
we gonna-
further down in the,
That's where
We've got that, I've got that in transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, Monica will talk about that. The only other thing I wanted to mention here is there was a letter which requires no action, but just to let you know that GHR, Garrett Newman Robertson, our attorney of record, is raising their hourly rate a little bit, and I just wanted you to have that information. They're already your attorney of record, so there's nothing to approve, it's just information I have for you. Okay, and then we have Barry, anything on maintenance?
Yeah, a couple things. We talked maybe last month before last about the compressor kind of running a little more. I looked at it over Christmas break or as much as I could. I talked to Jeremy from Homewood Swinging today. And after talking to him, he kind of mentioned why they had, or suggested I go do it. I guess before I didn't really realize what I was asking him. It's worse than finding a needle in a haystack. Once you start popping tiles and looking, there's always a exhaust fan, a furnace, there's always something running up there. And a majority of the pipe is wrapped in insulation, so you can't hear, it's a small air leak. I guess not knowing, I didn't realize what I was asking him, so he kind of laughed about that. Sean from the same company had maybe suggested we have a wet test this spring, or this summer, sorry. And he thought, well, maybe that would reveal something. Talking with Jeremy, he wasn't hopeful. He said that the wet test is so quick that it would add a couple drops, because if it was a major hole, we could have a blowout and that would show us, but he didn't think that was the case, how much the compressor was running. So he kind of just wants to monitor it. And this spring break, they're coming to do some sprinkler heads in the wrestling room. We'll kind of know more then. He suggested maybe a dry air test. They can put it up to pressure, see how long it holds pressure for. I think he said the standard was like, you're allowed to lose a pound an hour, a little under a pound an hour. So that's one thing we're looking at doing. And that would be spring break. One of the other things we did this last month, we contacted several companies about our holding tanks, our potable water holding tanks. Crystal Clean was about the only one that really showed any interest. They have a sister company called Patriot they use. Once a lot of these companies realize our tanks are in buildings, they lose interest really fast. They're in the building. Or we're out of their area. A lot of the Salem, Eugene, Portland, they do not want to travel at all. This, I believe they're out of Gresham, but they're willing to travel. They want to do a walkthrough though, to make sure it's something they could do. The only issue is if they're just cleaning and sanitizing. If we find an issue in the tank, they won't fix it. So we would need to have another company here available to fix any issues that they happen to find, because obviously we can't go very long without water and they want to sanitize it when we fill it up. And they need to know a month ahead of time. The company that schedules them needs to know a month ahead of time. So we're looking at like 2 months there. And that's just really to get them to come out and look at it and tell us if they're interested in doing it. So it's been pretty difficult finding a company willing to do that. So we roughly have like I'd say a 4-year window to do it. Our last water survey was last year. And Gary had mentioned that it's something they had brought up every time. So it doesn't have to be done this year or next year, but it is something I think we need to really start thinking about. Next, we've been having issues with what's called our fire reservoir. I think last month we rebuilt the diaphragm on a valve. Every time the school pump would kick on, it was filling up our fire reservoir, so it was overfilling, kind of leaking water back into the shed. We fixed that valve. Same thing was happening. Rain came back out. We thought maybe it could have been that valve was faulty, but it wasn't. The float now we're thinking it's having issues. So as soon as that water drains, we're going to take another look at it. Hopefully it's replaced the float. I don't think anything's been touched on it in over 30 years. And then besides that, we have Jason and his crew from Professional. They're going to be coming out during spring break. They're going to install the new dust collector for the shop and do the yearly maintenance on all furnaces. And that's all I got for you guys.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. If there aren't any questions, we will move on to Duval's transportation report, and then Monica will explain the cost to date.
Scott,
Do you want to go over that maintenance?
So one question,
Oh, sorry.
The maintenance thing.
yeah, that too, but one question would be the wrestling room.
Yep.
Sounds like it's working well. Ventilation.
Yep.
One thing about, I guess, wrestling, being new to that myself this year, but you go to a wrestling meet and just a full-size gym, it's pretty, shall I say, aerobatic. And that small room, I've heard, it's rather extremely aromatic.
We have one exhaust fan in there. That's something we can look into.
Okay,
You know,
might be something to think about anyhow.
yeah, I think we'd be better off putting more of an industrial exhaust fan in there.
Get some more volume movement.
Yep, because the one that's in there right now is kind of just your household, regular fan. It's going into the attic space. But yeah, I think that'd be something good to look into.
Perfect, thank you. And then your maintenance plan that you've got linked here, is
Yeah.
there anything you can tell us about any of this stuff?
I'm not looking at it, Scott, but what, let me see if I can. pull
Your
it up.
7-year plan,
What are some things you guys would like to know about it?
or you brought it up?
Well, just, yeah. Curious if there's anything that is more pressing than others.
I kind of tried to order it, like on the 1 to 3 year, one being the top priority. The cleaning those tanks, it seemed like a concern, but given how hard it is to find anybody to come out here, we kind of have a little bit of a window. I think as long as we're actively looking, the other downfall to that, I guess, would be we really only have 1 month where we can do it, and that's July, when we don't have any kids in school, whether it's summer school, regular school. Hopefully, it's one of those things where maximum we're down a day, but if there is an issue, nobody's ever been in those tanks. I don't know what the condition of the floats or any of that are in. I would assume that's probably something that would have to be replaced if we go in there. And even if it didn't, it may be a good idea to do it, given how hard it's been to get someone to come out here. I'd hate to have that opportunity to be able to replace something like that and not do it.
Being 30 years old, are parts available?
You're right, or it would have to be retrofit. I believe it's just a flow. I've had a few people explain to me what they thought was in there, but nobody's ever seen in there. So I think we're kind of
Right.
guessing a little bit, but, and yeah, that's the other thing. What happens if we get in there and we can't get parts for it and have to come up with something different? It may not be a quick thing. Replacing the fire alarm panels, I think we kind of talked about that. I put that up kind of higher because our last inspection, the guy noticed, if you're watching the screen, it'll flash like a $, exclamation point, a random number. He said he's seen panels like that in the past. They'll go out in 6 months, on the last 5-10 years. He said that is a sign that that panel's having issues. The problem with replacing it is it's not super cheap because they have to go through and replace all the alarms or all the smoke detectors. He suggested not using Simplex for now because they're proprietary, you have to go to them. He said that their rates obviously are super, super high. There's a couple companies he suggested, Silent Knight's the only one I can remember. But the cost to service them and maintain them, and they're pretty user friendly. They're a lot easier to use than a Simplex channel. So I put that one up there a little bit higher. Kitchen floors. That one's up there. The long jump pass, I think we kind of have that temporary fix. 40,000 is a lot just to put on those pass right now, I think. I think for under 5,000, we can put down temporary padding. It's a track material, I think I showed you guys at the last board meeting. The 4 to 7 year fire doors that we talked about that too. Some of ours have been kind of drilled and patched, and the boys' locker room one has been messed with. And if you actually start looking at code, you're not supposed to put any holes in a weld into a pin like that. So I think it'd be a good idea to start replacing the interior, exterior fire doors and frames. Then obviously the track, and then just items to purchase, probably the biggest one. Snow plow, a scissor lift that we can use throughout the school, not have to worry so much on our new gym or old gym. And there's just a lot of stuff to access up there, and when the scissor lift isn't that dependable, it kind of makes it tough because you plan a whole day, 2 days around the job that it really should take a couple hours.
Is there, on the 1 to 3 year, sound like you're working on the holding tanks and stuff, there's 8 items on there, so you kind of, like this summer, you're trying to knock out at least 3 of those things?
I think it would depend on cost and what we want to spend, really. So many of them, you can call companies and ask them. So far, I've kind of been working on the kitchen floors a little bit. Nobody wants to even estimate or tell you anything about coming out and looking. A lot of companies don't want to come out and look unless they feel like they have a pretty good chance of actually getting the job, especially once they figure out where we're at. Locker rooms, we talked about that. But yeah, I would like to definitely, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. I would like to definitely start picking off at least one,
Yeah,
But
if they only need to be done in 1 to 3 years, where we need to hopefully do a couple of years rather than
Right.
3
Well,
years. like-
and the more I learn about some of this stuff, like I said, the holding tanks, we actually have 5 years till our next survey. So we have a little more time than 3 years. Replacing the panel, I would probably put that more towards the top right now, just because we don't know. But like I said, it's 30 to 45,000, just depending on what you go with. And really, I think some of those could be moved to the fourth side. Like, the gym floor, that's more of a want than a need. The pump house, yeah, that depends. If we have too many more issues, we're gonna end up cutting up a lot of concrete and digging a lot of stuff out, so that could be, we could end up spending more money to fix the problem than just fixing it right. And, the locker room, that could probably be bumped over to 47, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we need to? I guess we got budget stuff coming in. Should we start talking? Put aside a certain amount of money for Barry to go work on some of this stuff.
I think so, and that was gonna be my suggestion with Barry, is to try to put a couple, 1, 2, 3 of those items in there in the budget and see if we can make that fit work. So,
That was the idea.
yep, definitely things we
Got the
need to plan
list,
for.
then we need to actually spend money, I guess.
Yeah. So we don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah, so, thank you very much.
Right.
I think the lift is a big thing too, we need to get done that. Probably some of the issues we have with our current floor is because that lift is too big and heavy for a chip floor.
Right.
We wanna save the little bit of a better lift.
So I can talk to Barry about that, and see what he thinks outside look, but I agree, I think that thing, I don't know how they are, but I think they're better. That's an old heavier one, maybe they're a little bit lighter, maybe. the
He's been
wheels are-
looking at smaller ones that are more
Yeah.
for one person that
Right.
much smaller footprint and smaller pounds per square inch on the
Right.
floor going
Yeah.
across it. That one's like made for a job site that 3 guys can work on it. Probably should have never been on the gym floor.
Probably not, yeah. Okay, any other questions about that? All right. So Jewel, now we're ready for you. Transportation report.
We've been doing not a whole lot of following the students because it's been month of December, for doing routes. And then we actually had a really pretty quiet winter break for sports too, so we didn't have spend too much time out in the snow and everything else. And so, yeah, we've kind of been a little lower on miles this month. But yeah. Bus 18, I was able to do some research on it. It's our oldest bus we have. It's a 2003. And we haven't used it at all this year. Again, we put it in as part of our fleet for this year, just because it's inoperable for a stop sign and the student stop lights. That control panel went bad, and I replaced it with one that we had in the shop when I first got there, and did the same exact issue. And there was a known issue in that era of circuit boards that one out of three was bad right out of the box. And so we just ended up with both of them that we had. And so I didn't even put it in our fleet because we had other buses that were able and capable of doing student stops. But that is really the only thing that is wrong with that bus. In some research that I was able to do is that if we were to convert it to a activity vehicle for us, and remove the stop sign that is already inoperable, as well as the student stop lights and the school bus signage, then we can turn it into a activity bus that is just for using for field trips and sports trips. And it would make allocating our miles that we do for our sports trips just a little bit easier, as well as for FFA. And then because we've already paid off that bus, we wouldn't have to be, it wouldn't be quite the charge that it is on our buses that we're still trying to get reimbursed on our mileage for going to the extracurricular activities that we're doing. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there that we can start pursuing that if we wanted to, instead of having to dismantle or sell bus 18. We could just remove the things we already have to do to decommission it, and then we can just keep it in our fleet and only use it for our sports trips. The nice thing about this bus is that it's the older style with shorter seats, so it's a little bit more comfortable. It used to be a wheelchair handicap bus. That has all been removed and changed, so we don't have to keep up with the handicap side of it, but we do have some extra storage space inside. And then there's also, because of that, more leg room between each of the seats, which would be nice on our sports trips and longer trips to be able to sit in that bus.
How long ago since that bus was used regularly?
It would have been, from what I understand, would have been 2 years ago. The last time that we really used it before bus 1 and bus 2 came into the picture.
Before we moved forward with that type of plan, would it maybe go on some longer drives with it to make sure?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it sounds like.
Definitely, even though it's getting up there in miles, but it doesn't have the emissions, so that's.
It
a big
doesn't have
deal.
any emissions, and
Yeah.
it's a big block Cummins that's inside of it. It's,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a total semi chassis, and we've seen those go twice as high, if not 3 times as high in mileage. And still be good.
Could very much lap bus.
And one of my drivers, that was her route bus for, I think, 8 years. And she absolutely loves it. She's had the least amount of hiccups out of all the buses that she's driven with that bus. And so for powertrain in that manner, I've also been told that one, when you ask it to give any power, it will just give it to you. It doesn't hesitate on it, it just goes for it. So that would be a nice part in our activity buses going up and over passes.
Definitely. Seems like a reasonable idea to me.
So with that, it just means I need to communicate with ODE. I need to get some letters that this is a viable option that next year, when it becomes not usable as a school bus, that we are still able, we have our written paper trail that says that we were allowed to do this, and that it can continue on, so we have some insurance for the upcoming years.
That's probably why you see like Powers when they come over here, their bus is always a white bus that says Cruisers on the side of it.
Yep.
They're,
Oh,
got it.
We could paint, and I printed off a lot of our forms to go with it, and we can paint it whatever color we want. So if we wanted to do a whole red and black scheme on it, paint it with yellow, we can, or we can just save the money and keep it yellow and just remove school bus signage. But yeah, there's a lot of different options we can do with it.
Dig it out.
The only thing we can't do is we can't put flyers on the sides. We can't like tape any paper to the side of it, or even do window paint on it and right field cowboys or anything like that. So if we wanted to do that, we would just have to paint it directly onto the side of the bus.
Thanks, Jubal. Monica, did you want to give the transportation update?
So you guys have what the budget is, what we've spent so far through December 31st. And then, the encumbrances for what we think we're gonna spend for the rest of the year. And it looks to me like unless you will, spend a little more, but fuel doesn't look like it's gonna go all the way out, so I don't think he'll be able to spend the rest of that fuel, but he might. But I think we're gonna come in about $54,000, $55,000 below budget. So that's what I,
And how does that compare? And I don't know, but like to what we paid per student.
it's comparable, it's really
Yeah.
comparable. Because I was doing the estimated membership and revenue last week
Oh,
for next year, and looking at Sarah's numbers and what she was using for student, it's right there.
And we know we're spending our money on versus surprise bills.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we know it's all going to our community and our own employees and not overhead that's just leaving our school. That was one thing we talked about when we considered doing this, so.
shareholders.
Yeah,
And we're able to keep a lot of our parts and oils all local as well. So we're
Right.
supporting Robbins and we're supporting Napa and Pine, and we're supporting Ed Stop and Sons for fuel and oil for us as well.
Right.
Wins all the way around. Thank you, Mont, for putting that
Yeah.
together.
And thank you, Jubal, for good job on it.
Okay, Ms. Bissell.
Let me start with attendance. We could still improve with the kids coming to school. We're trying to make sure they're coming. And there's some kids that have called parents and they've been sick, and I can't share names, but I'm calling on them. One thing that has improved since the break, before the break, they were kind of obnoxious, some little younger ones, but the discipline has improved. I haven't had very many kids causing issues in the classroom. So that's been going pretty good. And I appreciate teachers calling their parents. And then I call them, they say, oh, hey, Bissell, they called me too. Well, I just want to call them to double check on that. And then the academics made calls to some parents regarding grades. Well, the teachers are making them too, because there's some kids that aren't going to make it the first semester. They're going to have to retake classes, ninth graders. And so teachers have been communicating to parents too about the grades. So that's been going on. We just started middle school wrestling and middle school girls basketball. We got 5 wrestlers, middle school, 13 middle school girls basketball. And so they'll start playing and going next week to events. Hopefully, we'll see what goes and what. We've had a lot of issues with schedule changes, and there may be one tomorrow because we have Gilchrist for boys basketball, and we got people sick. So we're trying to work it that we may cancel. I'll know tomorrow morning. But don't run out, it's on the things, but we'll find out tomorrow for sure, confirm that. Wrestlers, I went to the wrestling match invitational in Burns this last week. 3rd place finishers did well. I like that tournament. It's a good tournament. And they did well. Some things with girls basketball. Girls basketball beat Central Christian and are currently ranked 9th. On the 28th, which I hope is a Tuesday, we're going to play North Douglas, who's ranked 7th. Nobody wants to come here. So it's like pulling teeth, but we're going there. The girls are going to play them there. If we cancel the basketball game tonight or tomorrow night, we might play it on that Tuesday, the 28th. That's where they have an opening Gilchrist. This Thursday, we play RVAA, girls at 5 o'clock, and the boys are at 6:30. And RVAA boys are ranked 14th. So that'd be a good game for us. So hopefully everybody will be well. We had, and the boys beat Central Christian, and they came back and beat them there at Central Christian. It was a good game, and I was proud of them for winning. I know Dan is too. Probably the last thing I have right now, and we have, our 35-second clock went belly up. And so it didn't work, and I reported myself as a violation. The coach from Prospect was gonna report it, because we're not supposed to be playing. Well, we played, well, they won, so they said, I'm not gonna file a protest. Well, I'm filing the protest, because that's not acceptable. You gotta have a 35-second clock operating at both ends of the court. So I reported myself, and the state sent me back a nice little note saying, thanks for letting us know. I appreciate this information. Good luck on getting them fixed. Yeah. So I just thought, okay, I was waiting for a $200 fine, because Oregon is one of the few states that fines everybody. So I thought I was gonna get a $200 fine, but I didn't. But I got it. Then the next game, which was last week, we played and we put in a new antenna on there, and we didn't set it up there because we're thinking the magnets from the speakers are causing problems. So we put it over there. We didn't have any problems with it. The only thing we had a problem with is an AD that's operating the clock. When sometimes they go, "Dang it would be 25 seconds," or started to reset it. So that's what we did. So but we still need to get a backup system, number one. Number two is, hate to say it is, and I'm working with Daktronics with the clock outside, see if they can get sponsorship. We need another score clock in the gym. You know, I'm gonna tell you right now, as an ex-basketball player and coach, I'd be mad, because I can't see the clock when I'm going this way. You've gotta have two clocks. And it's important. I was talking to the guys from Central Christian. I said, why didn't you put your 35-second clocks behind the boards? And he didn't have a good answer, but he put them up by the score clocks. He says, because they're manageable, and if we have problems, we can go take care of it. So, so I'm working on Daktronics to see what they can do with the clocks, because something has to happen. We gotta have a second clock. We don't have to have the same, you guys don't have to have the same big one, but you may want to. But if we can get sponsorship, it'd be great, and they can pay for them.
I think we used to have one on the other end of the gym that was just score and time.
Yeah, that's all you really need. And then it'd have to be tied in, so it can be connected for the 35-second clock.
Yeah.
The thing that the clock, what they told me is, the system that we have is a 5,000. And that's what will run the 35-second clock. Well, ours is a little bit older, so that's probably one thing we would have to get a new one of those. And those are about $4,000 or $5,000 right off the top of that. And then you got to deal with the 35-second clock. So hopefully, there's some things I would like to see done before the end of the year. Not asking you guys for money, but I'd like to see the clock taken care of. I'd like to see the clock for outside for football and the 35-second thing resolved before I leave. Even if it's in the mail, just so you guys have it. So I'm working on it, okay? So it's important. And I'm gonna be honest with you too, I apologize with all these changes. There's so many changes going on. And that's why I go bald, but I'm growing my hair longer to try to cover it. But it's just getting tougher and tougher with these games, trying to get games, wrestling matches and everything. And it's like, oh, we don't have a girls team, so we gotta change this. We don't have a boys team. Well, I haven't had a boys team cancel on me except boys JV. Most of them have boys JV and they want to play us, but nobody really wants to come here either. So I don't know.
On the 35-second, if that failed during the game and we won, the other
Then they
team
file
could, they
protest.
could protest the game.
Technically, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stop. Doesn't work. Do you have a backup system? No. The game is going to be rescheduled. Yeah, so they'd have to come back.
We definitely need it back.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
So especially, you can see this, yeah, so you can do this, so. I mean, in Washington, I got away with it. Washington, I said, we don't have any clocks, and both coaches agreed, okay, let's just play the game.
How old is that system? It's only a year older, so isn't it?
Huh?
There's no warranty on it or anything?
Oh, that's what I'm working on, but they
Yeah.
say there's nothing. So, but we're working on it. was $1,500, that's all that it was. It's not a real, it's basically a backup system. Yeah, so we'll be working on this stuff, okay? I'll give you updates monthly. Ask me for updates on it, see how we're doing. Okay?
But you kind of need a plan soon, right?
They're working now.
We're working
But
at
they
it.
worked last year off mode too.
No, but this one's working better. It's working better this time
I mean,
because
yeah,
we put 2 new antennas on there. And that's working, and we're not putting it up there against up there where it was. We're putting it down. I haven't tried it up there. I didn't want to. It's working there, so we just keep doing that right now.
We definitely need to have something like postseason, because the girls being ranked ninth, right? They've got a chance to get a home
Yeah,
state playing game. And if
well,
they fail during that,
you can get one, a backup system for like $600, $700 from Amazon Prime too, and it's just a stationary thing. But I'll call Daktronics to see what they'll say, see if this will work, or do we have to get that whole new 5,000 system? I'll see what they say tomorrow.
But yeah, I'd say go ahead and get it back. Come on.
Yeah,
That's
well,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't sleep very well the night before the game. Okay. I'll call Daktronics.
Is that
Okay,
it, Jim? then?
that's it.
All right, thank you, Cameron.
So right before Christmas break, we had the Christmas program, which went well. Roxanne, the drama students, our elementary students and elementary teachers did an amazing job. It was always done well by those guys. Senior experience has been rolling right along, getting lots of different guest speakers in. Ms. Baker's been doing a great job of that. Today, they had Washington State come in virtually, so they've had several different universities come in and do virtual visits for them. So same thing with different military branches. A couple months back, she actually had one of the higher ups from Portland come in and talk about ROTC scholarships and stuff. And when I talked to our local guy, he goes, I didn't even know she did presentations. So he was pretty impressed that she was coming in. Last month, Mr. Herndon and I took the 7th and 8th grade students on the Career Connection field trip to Seneca Doors and then to the Redmond COCC campus, and mainly toured their CTE buildings. And we're working with High Desert ESD for a second field trip in February, March, and looking at a combination of either OSU Cascades, COCC, and or another business tour, trying to figure out. We don't want to overwhelm them too much doing 2 tours in one day. You know, not get too much out of them. But the kids, I think, enjoyed the first one. That Redmond campus is pretty impressive with what they've got, and where they're supposed to start a remodel, I think, in the spring, and will double or triple the size of their existing building. So, yeah, so it's they've got some pretty up-to-date stuff. I think they have 4 or 5 3D printers, you know, different circuit boards for working on like a millwright certificate. So they have different boards and things that they can work on there. So we need, and they actually may come out and visit us. Their main instructor has some pretty good insight on our plasma cutters. So they might be able to get that going a little bit more. Some contact people for that. Speaking of attendance, and we've talked about the difference between daily attenders and average daily attendance. And our average daily attendance for the high school is about 84% in the last 30 days and 86% for the year. Elementary is 89% for both. So, and that's about where we've been the last few years. But that's not accurate for what the state will grade us on, so to speak. Saturday, we had the winter formal dance, decorations and everything looked great. Stacy Scarborough Yeomans did a great job putting those dances on. The leadership class wasn't quite as well attended as we hoped, but you know, let's get them all here. And just kind of looking ahead, semester is going to end on the 24th. We'll have our student K-6 RTI day on January 30th, and then the teacher grading day on the 31st. So just trucking along, and then the FFA stuff starts to pick up in February.
That it?
Yeah.
All right,
Any such questions?
okay. So if we move on to personnel and human resources, the next thing I had on my list was to discuss the, under administrative, the vice principal and athletic director posting options. We discussed this last month and you guys wanted to see some options, so we have, you'll see a draft 1 and draft 2 there. If you click on draft 1, it brings up the vice principal AD draft posting. These have not been posted yet.
No.
We're just looking at them, talked about them. Janet Cameron and I did.
About 90% of each posting is the same. There are just bit different duties that have been switched out for.
Right. And when we look at the first one, the vice principal AD, that means that it's going to be a job similar to what Mr. Missile already has. The other one, just so you know, is the where we took the duties and switched out the AD part with special programs. So we decided if we had to shift based on that person's skill set coming in, if they don't have AD experience, let's say, if they're a good VP and a good person, they can do, maybe they could do some of the other program oversight. And Cameron could possibly do the AD and then we'll just shift duties among the three of us to make it work. So that was another option, because if they could do that, then that would allow me to upload a couple of things, Cameron to upload a couple of things. I could assume some of his duties and kind of balance it all out where it would be an equitable distribution. So that's kind of what we came up with. Doesn't mean changes can't be made at this point in terms of duties or any detail really. They're there for you to look at and review and offer any comments or feedback that you have on that. Anything right off the bat that you notice or have questions on?
So that second one, when it says special programs, that would include like special ed.
It could.
Right.
Yeah, it could, depending on their experience. If it's somebody that comes in and they have experience with that, well, that could do that. It could be that, it could be SPED, it could be TAG, it could be 504, because Cameron does 504 now. Because I do special ed and TAG, he does 504. It could be Title IX, which Jim does.
What's 504?
It's similar to an IEP, but it wouldn't necessarily, it was initially designed for the kid that gets in a car wreck, has a TBI and needs some accommodations. They may or may not be permanent, and it's kind of morphed more towards some are permanent, some are not. So we got a couple kids on them last year that were graduating, so that would follow them to college if they needed some different accommodations. They would have those in place. It's still a legally binding, contract, so to speak. It's federally mandated if you have it, so it's it's not a illegal thing. But we only usually have kind of 3 to 5 on the 504 it. We start to have annual meetings.
So that could be part of a special programs package as well. Anything that kind of fits in that category that they could oversee and manage from their desk. And we felt like we had to create a couple of options because we just don't know who we're gonna find. In recent years, we've been lucky to find one person to apply for any position really, teacher, admin, whatever. There just aren't applicants out there much. So we're trying to come up with options for this person so that if we get somebody that has this particular skill set, we can adjust what we do to accommodate what they do. Because I don't want to tell somebody if they're a good candidate, otherwise I don't want to say, no, that's not really what we need, because.
Or have them not even apply.
Exactly. So we wanted to create it a couple of different ways, post it a couple of different ways so that we could attract either one, because either one could work for Cameron and we could make it work. Because we have skills that we could shift around and share or move. So that's kind of what we were thinking of when we created that, so. You see anything else that gets your attention or makes you ask a question?
On this note, Dan sent me a text. So we know he's out sick and actually went to the doctor, so we know he's really sick. But he says, I won't be at the board meeting tonight. I'm pretty sick with a flu or something, headed into urgent care shortly. I'm not in favor of filling Jim's position. We have a large administrative load compared to student population. Jim does remedial tasks like driving one to get home after school that anyone other than salaried admin should do. He isn't called to do much more than athletic activities. And even then, others step into that territory. Says he knows that he's absent, so he won't have much goals, but here tonight. And then it goes on to say grants can be handled a different way than having admin tied up doing that job. So I guess that's one question I would have is, as far as, I know we've discussed it a fair amount, is grants that are becoming a pretty big job to manage. And I know we've got Mark Louie that's helping us with that. On our end, what would the cost be to have a in-house grant writer or grant manager?
Not the same as kids' salary.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Just one question I had,
As far as looking around at other districts our size, like Gilcrest has 3 administrators, Butte Falls, which is quite a bit smaller than us, has 3 administrators.
Are they in several buildings or?
Gilcrest is all on the same campus. So they've got Breezeway connecting, so it's, technically they're 2 buildings, but they use the same cafeteria, commons area. Right there, just in my blocks away. Butte Falls, it is all. Probably not, I think they're all the same. Campus as well.
I would think so. I've only had their football field and gym.
Yeah. They have like 123 students. That's all they have.
Prospect, I know is. I don't know, meeting with Jersey, they're on the same campus, but I think they're in separate buildings.
I guess my opinion on that, and I know this came up before, but, and we've talked about it and kind of tossed it around, and personally, I just feel that that there's too much going on for 2 people to do it. Unless you wanted to add more days to our contract to give us time to do that, because I don't think we can do all of it in the time that we're given, because Jim does a lot after hours. He's got all the games and stuff that after hours, so it's not just what you get done during the school day, it's the weekend stuff, the after school stuff and all of that he attends, that Cameron and I do often, but we share it. And he comes to most of it, so. And I would honestly say that Jim does a whole lot more than just other stuff, not just the stuff. He was talking earlier about the attendance, and he talks to teachers all the time. He calls parents. He does a lot of discipline work. He does all kinds of things during the day besides his AV stuff. You just kind of don't see him do it because he just does it. Talks to teachers, talks to parents, talks to kids. He's kind of our boots on the ground guy, and he saves Cameron and I a lot of time in terms of dealing with discipline issues. He's kind of first on the list, right behind Amber. If it's a minor thing, then it goes to him, and then Cameron, then to me, kind of on the trail like that. So he does a lot of stuff, just so you know, outside of his AV duties.
Right. So. I think one point Cameron made, we were talking about this too, is when you, just who's gonna be here to back up when one of you was gone, or even both of you was gone. We're getting to the point where it's younger and younger teachers. We don't have Chad anymore. We don't have, like Lance Haberly, Clark, those guys that used to step in. We don't have any of those guys right now when they're gone.
Yeah, well, and like at the dance, here's an example. The dance Saturday night, 3 of us were the 3 chaperones, besides Stacy. There wasn't anybody else here, just 3 of us. That's fine with me, but I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that happens after school, and we have that with that all the time. So Just saying.
I would, if we post it, we're not required to hire anybody, I'd say post it and see if we get candidates and find somebody that's a really good fit. Then it's worth bringing them in. We should probably have a backup plan if we don't find somebody, and we have to drop to two, because that's the other thing, first, we're gonna find somebody, which hasn't always been our, reality.
I think
But I think
we could
the
work
other
on-
piece, I've thought about this on some, since our last conversation. And at some point, you're gonna retire. If we brought in, if we found a good candidate, it could also help us with some succession planning if we thought that there was somebody that, eventually people would seats as you look at retirement down the road. So again, that would be if you found the correct candidate. But I see at this point, no harm in posting a position. And I guess we would determine if we find the right person, great. If not, then we're faced with a different reality.
And we've talked about that.
Yeah.
And we're very well aware that we may not find a person that we're comfortable hiring.
I think we post it and then maybe we could do a workup of what it would look like to just have the two of them next year as well.
Yeah.
And present it for next meeting if we want, if you guys want.
I think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
Because, like you say, we may not come up with somebody. Or maybe working through that system, that process, we might look at it and say, hey, wait a minute, if we do have a person that can pick up, not necessarily administrative stuff, but pick up other things that are picking up, different sections of what you guys are doing that necessarily don't have to have the admin license for. Maybe that would be a good fit,
If we find somebody else to be the sped director.
Right.
which-
Yeah.
that's
It
what
has to
part of
be,
it.
it'd have to be added.
You do, yeah. It didn't used to be. A few years ago, they switched it and you do. You have to have a license to do it, which is why I said.
Which takes, in my opinion, takes too much of your time. I mean,
It takes a lot, but
that'd be a good thing to offload if, but that's the big end, so.
that's why we thought about the special programs, because then that could go, and then I could help him to do evaluations or something else like that, that would take a load off of him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
so I'd be in favor of posting it, but I would be pushing that second one. If there's any way,
Special
if
programs.
there's any way right now that's
Okay.
really favorable for this special program, that, in my mind, that's one that would be most beneficial. to the system.
do that, see what we get. Okay, and we'll just read through these one more time, see if there's any other changes down it before we want to post them. You two can, if there's anything add, make sure we have them really on it. Okay, so going down to number 5, school board policy update. Okay, I did the research that you guys asked me to do on policy AC and also policy JFE as far as wording and everything. I had Spencer Lewis, I actually emailed the attorney, she sent me to Spencer Lewis, who's the policy guy. I have his responses there, which you probably already have read. And then I had, if you go way to the bottom of that section, A, November 24th, policy update, second reading. Because if you guys are okay with those, I was gonna have you approve the whole bunch, if you're okay with it, and we'd be done with it. However, just today, this afternoon, right before the meeting, Janet got an email from Spencer Lewis about putting a hold on 5 or 6 of these policies, because there was, Janet, did you send that? to me?
It's on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're questioning that, some of those that have to do with gender issues or the pregnant and parenting one, any of that. And his advice was to not adopt any of those. So, and it just so happens that AC and JFE are 2 that are on the do not adopt list. So you can see his response, but this was prior to the information I got today. Go ahead.
Before we go to policies, I go all the way back to budget financial. The audit summary was on this superintendent's report, but it looks like it didn't get added to your personal one.
No, it didn't, because it
Yes.
was too late, but I have it at the end to just bring it up and add to next month's.
Well, but Monica was the one who wanted to explain it. I don't
Oh,
know if you
okay.
guys,
I
are
didn't
you
know she wanted
getting
to
ready
say
to go or?
Well, you told me it was an information item only,
Well,
I'm just giving it to her.
It
but if she
is,
wants
but
to
she
say
wanted to
something,
kind of
that's
say
fine.
Sarah
something
said I
to it.
have to
Yeah.
present it, it hasn't been for the grant,
Because what now?
because of one of the grants.
Oh, okay, then go
Oh.
ahead, that's not what I was told, that's fine, go ahead, do it, if you wanna do it right now before we get.
Because we were gonna put it on the agenda for next month
Right.
for you to present it. They were just gonna review it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, okay,
As long
okay,
as-
then we're good.
As long as it gets presented so that it's for the grant. The act says the public has to have their say.
Yeah, we can post it for next month.
Probably then it needs to be, let's.
Yeah, it needs to be on the agenda, like, that we post out to public, I think
Yeah.
so.
Which it's not, so that's why we're putting it off. till
But
next
I
month.
did give it to you guys, you can look through it.
Yeah, super, okay, so
This
that's
month.
on the end of my.
Okay.
Okay, so back to policies. So the, thing is, what you can do, your only option tonight then, you guys, is to adopt all of the policies that we talked about, with the exception of that list that Janet included. And I'm looking at my own,
ACAR.
It's the ACARs,
yeah,
like you can adopt AC, but not the ARs.
Yeah.
And then the GBA, JBA, you don't adopt them or their ARs. Yeah, and the reverse as well, don't adopt them or their ARs. And then there's the pregnant and parenting one, the JFP. Don't adopt that one either.
right.
If we're gonna parse it out, I'd say let's just table this.
We can do that
Yes,
as
we can
well.
do that.
We can do that as well.
Are you guys up for that?
I just don't know how
Mhm.
long it might be. Did you get any indication of how long? I read this,
No.
but I can't remember if they gave any indication of when.
No, but considering, yeah. And considering that there's some lawsuits and other things,
Well, this might go on.
trying to
forever.
overturn this, there might be other things that come
Right,
under the gun as far as
Yeah.
policies too.
but if you guys want to, what we could do is, we could add them on to, if you want to let them sit for now, we can add them on to next month. And then just kind of do another update, see if they've made any progress or not. If they have not, then what you could either table them again, if you're comfortable with pushing them out, or we could adopt all of them except this bunch right here. If that's what you prefer to do.
We need a motion on that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd say table,
You might need a
pending.
motion.
Table all policy conversation. pending
Yeah, you could table it.
Updates from
Mhm.
from lawsuits.
Second,
I was just saying, if you want to vote on it, you go right ahead, I'm not gonna stop you.
so moved and seconded to table all lawsuit conversation, pending current lawsuits. Outcome for lawsuits or something like that, line.
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about any of them tonight, right?
All those in favor? Motion carries. I like it.
Yeah, sorry, but that was like right.
It was
before
right
meeting
before the
tonight.
meeting.
We got that,
Yeah, I love to hear that they take care of that one.
yeah,
That's why we're waiting.
yeah, okay,
And Dwight's gone next month, so we'll have to wait till March at least.
oh. Guys, now wait, don't push off too long, because you're gonna be a whole other batch, because,
It'll be all right. We did a
Yeah.
whole bunch already.
yeah.
Just in time for the April ones.
Sometime for the April ones, yeah, okay. All right, so we'll wait on those. And that takes us to item number 2, employee negotiations. You have a copy of a classified negotiation agreement. Looks like this. You can find that page. And we had classified negotiations held on, the last one was December 18th when we came up with our agreement. And you will see that at the bottom of the page, we talked about some CB language. We're going to change a piece of it to 3-year probationary period rather than 1, which needed to have been in there before, but somehow got left out. Insurance.
Yeah, it was in there and agreed upon before. I'm
just got
wondering if
left
they
out.
updated an old
Right.
version of the CBA.
Yeah, and then the insurance, they agreed to the language that they're going to, well, I have the language that's in there right now, and they're gonna leave all that as it is, but they're going to, and still agree to the 3.4% raise, or increase in insurance. It would be up to 3.4, but no more than.
Actual up to 3.4.
Right, actual up to 3.4. And then as far as a COLA, the district offered them an increase equal to a minimum of 2% and a maximum of 6% for 2 years, the second 2 years, 4% for the first year. And I think that was it.
But it sounds like the bus drivers didn't
Yes.
do the 4%, they just did COLA for all 3 years.
Right, and that's on number 3 down there.
Okay.
Because the bus drivers, just because of creating that program, they just got a little out of sync with the rest of the classified staff. They're classified staff, but they're just a little bit out of sync. So they're going to offer them a COLA for the bus drivers according to the same CB language as above. And yearly steps as increases as applicable to all eligible employees. They're not all eligible for a step. If they're at the very top, it's just gonna be the COLA, but other than that, that's what we went for. And Scott, do you want to say anything about?
Actually, the 2 paid snow days is a new thing too.
Oh, we did, sorry, I missed that. They asked for, and the district decided to offer them up to 2 paid snow days, if they're full cancellations, not the delays, which will not accrue from year to year. That was something they asked for, and one of them said, well, yeah, but that's fine, but Gil never calls a snow day. So we're never gonna get anything from that. I thought, well, sorry, we're coming we can. I said, I can't do anything about it. But
on the
that was
days-
something they asked for, and we decided that would be fine. That's what the district,
Yeah.
Dwight and Scott agreed to for them.
It's a pretty big paycheck hit for them
Yeah,
on
that's
a snow day.
the reason they asked for it. So anyway, anything you guys want to say about that? Because you were the ones who negotiated that. That's just kind of the summary. We signed it off.
They were really cordial and didn't have, I guess, a whole lot to really,
Yeah, good work with.
yeah, it was pretty easy this time around, so.
They want, yeah, appreciate that. They want to make it work.
Yeah.
And make it work for everything, so.
For sure. And the snow days, definitely, like you guys said, it can put them in a pretty tight spot for some of the employees, and for as often as we do have snow days, it's be fine.
It's usually not snow, it's usually cold and the buses will start.
Right.
Yeah.
Worry about you.
Yeah. So we felt for, the Scott and Dwight felt for them no more than we needed, because that's really all it was for, was just kind of backfill their pay on those days, and it does make that bill, well, then, which doesn't happen often, but if it does, then that we would be fine with that, so. And everything else is within reason. It's really makes it pretty easy when, the insurance is only gonna go up to 3.4 and actual up to 2.4, makes it really pretty cut and dried. And I think their salary, as far as we were using the SSA Gov COLA, so that range in there pretty well fit, didn't it, Scott and Dwight, about what the average has been using that site as our base.
3.5 of the last 10 years. those kind of years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Right. Okay, so you guys all okay with that? Because your negotiators already signed off, so.
It's an action item. Do we need a
Yes,
motion for
yes, let's
approval?
have a motion for that, yeah.
Should accept it, this one.
Yep. Make a motion to accept the classified negotiations proposal as presented.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carries.
All right, thank you. The next thing that's going to be starting is confidential negotiations. they will be, and this is just a handful of people who really don't fit into the certified group or classified group. They're kind of like in their own little space by themselves. And then we have a few of those, I think 8, maybe 9. I asked them to submit to me what they asked for because they really don't fit in a group other than insurance.
We don't have a CBA, so
We
it's
don't have a
contract by
CBA.
contract.
Nope,
Yeah.
and, yep, salaries are kind of appropriate for their job, not necessarily comparable to each other. So that's more of an individual basis. I asked them to respond to me what they would request of you, the board. And I've heard from one person so far, said here's what I'm requesting. So what you guys will need to do then is, for the confidential, is just, I guess the way they've done it in the past, what Janet has told me is they bring their request to me, I bring them to you, kind of deal with them individually, but all in one meeting.
I think Sarah has just put them on a spreadsheet, so you
Yeah.
can kind of see them
Yeah.
across the board.
That's what she did
kind of what
last
they're
time.
asking for.
And you either kind of go down person to person, say, yep, that looks good, or no, this is not okay for this person, move on to this instead, kind of thing. So it isn't a bunch of individual meetings with those people, and they're happy to let it work out that way. It's much more efficient. So there's that to do yet, and then the certified negotiations. I've talked with the certified reps as well to let them know that we do need to talk with them about benefits, insurance. Their pay, because of the substantial raise you gave them, is already set for the next 2 years. And there was a raise that was agreed to, but we didn't talk about insurance at that time. So they have a couple of options. One of them, which makes sense to me, is if we just did insurance like for the next 2 years and then let that whole contract catch up, and then we can do everything in 2 more years. I mentioned that to them because I said, take that to your membership. That's an option if you want to do that. It's between you and the board, but I'm just saying that's something to think about. And I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to do that, because then you don't have to come back every other year and negotiate something separately. So anyway, it's just benefits and possibly a tiny bit of contract language, they said. So nothing, I don't think major, but anyway, so there's that. So that should go really quickly. They are talking to their membership now to find out kind of what they're thinking. I said, if you wanted, because you're the ones that are suggesting contract language change, I said, I'm not the negotiators, but it makes sense to me for you guys just to come back to the first meeting and present the changes that you want, because I have no idea what they're thinking, and then we can just go from there. So that's how that's, and that'll facilitate the process as well. Okay, so those 2 things are launched in that fashion, and we'll wait to hear from them, but I'd like to get it all done, everything by the end of January, first week of February, maybe something like that. Hopefully we can do it quickly, and in a meeting or 2. So anyway, questions on that?
Who's gonna be the board negotiators on that?
Well, you guys, unless you want to switch, unless you want somebody else to do it. That's you, because you might be gonna be gone instead.
So we got the first.
We did the certified last year.
Yeah,
Like the other ones are individuals, so it's not an issue.
Right.
We'll have a conflict.
certified.
Confidential.
Individual.
Oh, you do.
The weird ones. It's my mother.
Yes, you do.
That's
Get that in writing.
Oh, just wait.
Oh,
till-
well,
If they made it this deep in the meeting, they can have that.
but because she would be negotiating for herself, you could just not participate in hers. You could participate in all the
Yeah, you
others,
could
just not
abstain
hers,
from
because
voting.
hers is not the same as everybody else's. They're all individual. So if that makes you feel all right, then I'm okay. Okay, so you two,
So you're all.
your name's already written on my list, Preston, too late tonight.
That's in pen, too.
Yep, it's in pen
And record.
and recorded.
What's it?
We don't have dates yet, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
No.
what's your proposed dates?
Well, I told him I wanted it to come to me and let's get it done by the end of January or first week of February, something like that. I'd like it done so with that, by the February board meeting, we can kind of wrap it up and say, here's what we negotiated, because we're starting budget shortly after that. Can't push it to March, so it's gotta be done. Work for you guys.
I'm down the rest of this week. And I can probably be an alternate. so-
Okay.
So Preston, Scott, are you gonna do both the confidential and the certified? Or is somebody different for certified
The confidential, is that
or support
the
staff?
way I understood it? Are we going, is that going to the full board? Do we just go into executive session and just knock it out?
We would do it just like we did previously with the other group.
Okay. just
Me
the two.
and with just because each of those confidential staff will probably meet with me.
Okay.
And I will have a list of what they have all asked for. I'll bring it to you and you will say yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever.
Who's you? Is that two people or is that the board?
The board, the two board representatives.
Just two board.
Yep, just the two board, just like we did with the confidential, only they don't have representatives that come and meet with you. So they will give their asks to me and I will say, here's what I asked for, and then you two guys can decide.
You or they were.
Yes, I'm not really the representative, I'm just passing on the information. And if any one of them said, hey, I really want to come and meet with the board members, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. If they want to come and talk with you directly on their own behalf, that's fine. It just facilitates a faster process. Then we can sit down and talk about all those people in one meeting, and then we can also probably talk about certified in that very same meeting. Try to minimize the number of times you guys have to come here as well. Okay, so as soon as I hear from them, and I'll probably send out a reminder email tomorrow, hey, I need a central ASAP, let's get going on this, and how about this date? And then I'll let you guys know. And see if that works. Okay. And you're gone for the rest of the week, you said?
What,
We need to assume that.
you know,
Okay.
And keep in mind, we don't have school Monday. Were you saying something, Jenna?
I would just say suggestion, when you put that email like out again for the support staff, is maybe if you're all right with it, you might not, it might be something different. You might, they're gonna ask anyways, just put what classified agreed to give them a jumping off point.
Oh,
That might be what's hanging them up. It's like, oh,
could be. I already told them about the insurance rate
Yeah.
being the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cause a lot of times they just tend to follow.
Yeah, but I am trying to get it done as quickly as we can, you guys, and with as few meetings as possible. Okay. Let's see, all right, number 3, a board member to join the foundation. This was a suggestion, it's kind of a question mark, I guess if you want to put it there. When we had our last foundation meeting, I was asked by Clayton Sharp, he's our president, that why we didn't have a board member on there anymore. And I said, oh, I didn't know that we used to. And he said, well, when he was on the board, he was also on the foundation. And now he's the president of it since Dave is gone. He just thought that we should have a board member on there. So I said, well, I will ask you guys at the next meeting if any of you are interested in also serving on the foundation as a representative of the board. You control what the foundation does. We're under your guidance, but if any of you want to serve, you're invited to do so, and you can make a motion to nominate someone if you want to, or you could choose not to, it's up to you. And then I'll just report back and let them know what your decision was, okay? So what do you think about that? I will say this, we don't have meetings, we have 1 or 2 meetings a year until we get a project going, and then we have to meet more often. Remember when we did the last big project they handled was the track, and they had meetings pretty frequently because there was a lot of action going on. But since then, we really haven't had anything much to work on, so we have meetings once more than 2 times a year. Try to have a couple times a year. So it's not much of a meeting mode if you want to know about that. But it's totally up to you if you want to have a board rep on there or not.
I think it's not a bad idea. Mark?
Perfect. Who's not voting in?
and seconded to appoint as a board member of the Education Foundation for the North Lake School. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. That'll be great. So I'll then include you, because I'm the secretary of it. So I will include you on email and then we'll get meeting notices and stuff. It's just our group. Okay, all right, perfect, thank you. All right, and then the other thing regarding North Lake Foundation business is number 4, approving Josie Tobiasen as the treasurer. Remember, I came to you with a slate of officers and Monica was on there, but she found out she couldn't do it since now she's a district employee. So we decided to, and Josie has agreed with this, she's gonna serve as the VP and the treasurer. We really didn't have anybody else that's a non-school employee to put in that position, so we kind of doubled her up and she's fine with that. So if you would vote to approve Josie Tobiasen as our North Lake Education Foundation treasurer, that would be great.
I'll move that we approve Joseph Bison as the North Lake Education Foundation treasurer.
Moved and seconded for Josie Tobiasen to the North Lake Education Foundation treasurer. Further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
All right, and then the only other thing, foundation, I guess one more, I think I told you this, but I can't remember, about the foundation scholarship. We decided that we're gonna offer $2,000 in scholarships each year to be divided by no more than 4 scholarships of $500 each. It may be one $2,000 one, depending on the qualified applicants that we get. The foundation wanted to recognize students who were, I would say, for lack of a better word, like average in terms of GPA, but yet a good candidate that would need help or assistance possibly going to school or had a track follow. They didn't want to focus on who had the highest GPA or the highest SAT or that, because what they discussed, and it's kind of true, is that there's a lot of assistance out there for people who are really great, good academic progress reports, results, all of that, and there's a lot of help for kids that really can't afford college at all. They kind of want to address those kids in the middle that really want to go to school and have plans, but might not qualify for the top or Oregon Promise. So anyway, that's kind of what their aim was. I am working on the application, the description, the rubric, and score sheet, all of that stuff, information sheet and application. We're working on that. I have it pretty much done, and I think that's going to work. We will get that out when it's time to circulate those and award it during the senior brunch or lunch, whichever they have, with all the other scholarships at that time. Okay, and that was more just an informational item for you. Okay, and then number 6 is the last item I have on here with the superintendent evaluation tool review and approval. I had that on as possible action because I wasn't sure that you were going to approve it or not. That's up to you guys. If you want to, you can. We talked about this the last time, so where are you guys with that? What do you want to do with that new tool that you've been discussing? It's up to you.
If we landed on
The Oakland.
Oakland School
Oakland.
District. Do you know if Dan was going to redo that and take off Oakland and not customize it for our district? I didn't do that because I don't have the electronic copy.
Should we postpone this until Dan's here?
Well, you guys need to evaluate her
Yeah.
next.
Next
meeting.
month, yeah.
Right.
Well, preferably we can move that to March with Dwight being gone. I'd like to try to have everybody here as far as evaluation goes. I think.
Okay, so we'll have our meeting before March 15th, though, right?
Yeah, it's
What's the
The
date on
10th.
it? It's just before, isn't it?
It's March 10th on the calendar.
yeah, March 10th.
Okay, so that could work.
We could adopt it out.
He didn't say anything about that, no.
Um,
What's your guys'
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with adopting it tonight, but it's not actually cleaned up.
And we don't have a digital copy of it, so,
yeah, I don't either.
yeah.
So I can't do it.
Well, maybe we'll, I'll get with Dan and then we can get it, hopefully try to clean it up and get a copy to you guys and adopt it next month, I guess. So that way it's on the
Yeah,
books and,
Then it needs to get back out to us and be ready in March.
right. Okay.
Alrighty. So 2, you're gonna adopt in February. And then the actual evaluation you're gonna do in March.
Right.
And those dates are, so the 10th and February 10th also. Alright, so that was it. So I just wrote that down, nothing to approve today then. Right, and then for future agenda items, we will put the audit report that Monica was talking about on there. You have it for your review, so you may look it over prior to the meeting. If you have any questions, you can have those ready. She will explain it to you at the next meeting, everything that's in here. Including the grant, and we will put it on the agenda, because for that grant, I'm sure it has to be on the agenda. Yeah. It's pretty efficient when you're talking about grant stuff, so.
So these are the future agenda items I have, so I don't know if you guys want to approve yay or nay. It sounds good. I have budget calendar approval, audit report, appoint the ESD board member, whoever you guys decide, adopt the superintendent's evaluation tool, and then probably school calendar review and approval. I can give you guys a couple of drafts.
School calendar,
It's about that time.
yeah. Anything else you guys want on agenda next time? So policies, the policies, we'll see where we are with those.
Yeah.
I'll have to do mine via Zoom, because I'm in Zoom,
Okay.
so I don't have to move.
Bad connection.
Anything else, you guys? Are we good?
Yeah, we're done with,
record time.
Time is it 7:37? Oh, wow.
well, we just finished superintendent report. Oh, wait, we don't have any executive sessions. We're good there. Unfinished business, none. Questions, comments? Future agenda items we already covered, so. Okay. That's it.
You're doing all right.
All right.
Well done.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you guys very much. There's a lot there, and made it through okay, and we had.
Yeah, good.